So the Northwoods Innovation Programme is a woodlands initiative in the northeastern Yorkshire, funded by the Woods Management Forestry Innovation Funds, which actually come to an end at the end of this month. Although that doesn't mean the end of Northwoods, it's just the current programme as it is. We've done a number of things through the programme, including working with the Sylva Foundation and the developments to their platform. Next slide, please. And we've been working with Martin Glynn, RDI Associates, the Sylva Foundation, and also timber auctions. So Northwoods is not just Reheat, the place where I work, it's a consortium of experts. Next slide, please, Paul. So there are 76,000 hectares of unmanaged woodland in Yorkshire and the Northeast, and the driving force of Northwoods is to bring more woods into management across that region through a number of methods. So the last thing from me is that we'll be sending out an evaluation form after the webinar, and we'd be really grateful for your feedback so that we can keep running these webinars and know what people like and what we could improve. So I'll hand over to Paul Orsi to tell you more about the subject of today's webinar, and he'll be supported by Gabriel, who's also from Sylva Foundation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Martha. Thank you very much for the introduction and for inviting us to present more about the work we do in myForest to support people that own and manage woodlands across the UK. So just some very quick introductions. I am a professional forester. I've had a career involving private sector forestry companies working on a big estate and for NGOs. So I have a knowledge of forestry and a bit of knowledge of selling timber, but I think the selling of timber and the understanding of the process to get ready to sell timber can be quite frustrating and slightly opaque for a lot of people. So we wanted to sort of support people that use myForest to bring forward their timber for sale in a consistent manner that they get to the right place quickly. Sylva Foundation is an environmental charity. We're relatively small. We have 11 people, consisting of forest scientists. So down the left-hand corner there, you'll see my colleague Gabriel, who's on the call. He's going to be in the background answering any chat questions you have, and he'll also create the Q&A session that we have at the end. But we are an organisation slightly unusual of professional woodworkers, professional foresters, product managers and web developers. And that's really our unique space at Sylva, is that we develop web technology for forestry and land management. And we hopefully do it in a way that is because we are foresters, we know what people need and want as foresters, but we are able to develop it in-house through our own web developers. And in this unique space, we have worked with collaboratively with a number of partners to develop other tools. So we're talking about myForest tonight, but I just wanted to highlight a few other tools that we've also developed. So something called the Woodland Condition Assessment, which we released last year, working with the Forestry Commission, which helps you understand the ecological condition of your woodland. We have worked with the Environment Agency to create an environmental funding platform called NatureBid that's had around about £24 million worth of funding channeled through it. And then with the Woodland Trust and the RSPB and some other environmental NGOs, we developed the Woodland Wildlife Toolkit, which helps you understand what rare and declining wildlife species might be in and around your woodland. We also get involved in science work. So more recently, we've been using myForest to develop a new tool and or a new program called Forest Lab. So this is where we're connecting forest scientists at forest research and at universities directly with woodland owners and managers, so that those owners and managers can collect data, feed directly into science projects, and get a good connection with scientists and understand what the current issues are around woodland resilience particularly. But we also have if you look out for it this summer coming, will be a follow-on British Woodlands Survey 2025. So we've been running these surveys since 2012, looking at awareness and aspiration and action from woodland owners and managers across Britain about particular issues around about climate change, woodland resilience, public access, that kind of thing. We're all based, although we work across the UK, we're based at Sylva Foundation's heart, which is at the Sylva Wood Centre, where we have a wood school. And this is taking us beyond the growing of trees into the utility of a sustainable product. So we teach wood skills in homegrown timber, and at the Wood Centre we support around about 20 young businesses, wood-based businesses. So I wanted to just reflect very quickly on why we do the work we do at Sylva, what the sort of big challenges are that we're trying to support addressing. So the UK is the second largest net importer of forest products in the world. So we have a large population, a small landmass, but actually we also got a very small woodland cover. And even within that woodland cover, we have, as Martha mentioned in our slides, quite a lot of woodlands that exist that are deemed to be or under managed. And so there's potential to get more timber out of those woodlands. And that could be seen as a good thing from a resource point of view. It could be seen as a good thing from a timber miles carbon footprint point of view. It could be seen a good thing from a rural economy, rural jobs point of view. But we also have good evidence that active woodland management supports wildlife, supports woodland specialist wildlife. So I don't want you to get bogged down into the detail of this graph, but it shows you that over the last 40, 50 years, that woodland specialist birds have been declining, and that can be mapped alongside the decline of active woodland management in particularly in sort of native broadleaf woodlands in the lowlands, but also across lots of woodlands. And this particular graph, if you had it for butterflies, if you had it for plants, would highlight a similar decline. So at Sylva, we when we set out our journey in 2009 to become a charity, we wondered what we could do to support people that own and manage woodlands. We weren't going to buy up woodland. We have no aspiration to own woodland ourselves. But 72% of the woodland in the UK is owned by private individuals or outside of government, essentially. And we need to have a way of interacting with them and supporting them to let them understand what sustainable forest management is and how they could get involved in that. So we created myForest. It's a web-based mapping system with a integrated forestry database. It provides you with easy access to multiple backgrounds and data layers, and importantly, it provides a link directly to particular outputs that are designed specifically for forestry. So management plans, plan of operations, and then a new output that I'm going to highlight today that we'll be providing in the next few months to support the sale of timber as well. Our user base is varied. We have around about 215,000 hectares of woodland mapped across Britain. And one of the challenges I think we have is that we support people from woodland owners right through to large estates and forest management specialists. This is a map of the area of woodlands that we cover across Britain. So specifically tonight, what I'm doing is I'm going to show you the functionality that we've created to get you ready to market your timber. This is not a webinar about marketing. I'm not a timber marketer. There are other people, particularly Ollie from Timber Auctions is very good at understanding the timber market. What I want to show you is how you can get your information aligned in a consistent way so that you can hand it over to potential buyers or contractors that they can understand what they're getting involved in. So we have people have been trying to support this over time. So this is I thought at the time quite a good brochure developed by the Small Woodlands Association, looking at a marketing guide for owners of small woodlands. I think this is about 12 or 13 years old now, and when I looked for it on the web, it's not available. But I had a copy in my files. But this sort of this idea of supporting people to understand how to market woodland is not a new one, but it's a complex area. So I wanted to just make sure that we are looking at how to get the information together. So currently myForest supports users to map your woodland. You can add species data, you can add inventory information, which will give you volume data. You can create the management plans that could be approved, and then those management plans will also allow you to get a felon license. So what you're doing is both sustainable and legal. And then you can also create maps to go with those management plans and felon licenses. Through the Northwoods programme, we've been developing a number of new functionalities to support people to understand what's in their woodland and mobilise that timber. In the first year, we created a geospatial map. So this is where you could download a map, add it onto an app on your phone, and you'll be able to see the map on your phone and also see your location at the same time. My colleague Andrew 2 months ago did a webinar, Northwoods webinar, about how we are supporting people doing inventories. We've got some automated calculations in myForest now. And what I'm going to show you now is what we've done to help you collate all that information together. To do this, we've been working with Timber Auctions and RDI. So some of you may know Will Richardson from RDI, very good woodland manager based up in Yorkshire, works across Yorkshire and the Northeast. And Timber Auctions is a website where you can work with Ollie to put out a timber parcel, and it will be put as a way of putting it out to the market to get your information to more people. People can bid for your timber parcel. And what I wanted to highlight here is, as we were talking together and looking at things, that we got a range of different documents. There was no real consistency in the way that people presented information. It was everything from really terrible, which I'm not showing now, to pretty good. Shown on the left here. Bob put this together, of some information with his agent Will, and some maps and some information, over to the sublime of the map on the right hand side of some really detailed maps showing everything from where the plot data for the inventory information was taken. And we wanted to find a good standardized place that most people could use and pull that information together. So I'm going to jump now from the presentation onto the live site. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you know that this is a test site. So what I'm showing you tonight is not available today on myForest. We're finished developing, we're going through a testing process, and then we'll likely release this new functionality within the next 2 months. But we'll if you're signed up to the myForest newsletter, then you'll find out when this becomes available. So a few of you may have seen myForest before, but if you've not, then it's, as I said, it was a mapping system. I'm not going to teach you how to use every part of myForest tonight. but I want to just give you a highlight of some of the things that we're going to use. So you can flick between different mapping backgrounds from OpenStreetMap to OS over to Google Satellite. And each of those different mapping backgrounds provides something different to different people. I also want to highlight that we have some data layers in here, which provide you with some information around ancient woodlands, area of outstanding natural beauty, that kind of thing. myForest works in a way that helps you divide your woodland into the standard forestry breakdown of a woodland, which is compartments and subcompartments. So in this example here, the compartment is the blue edge around this woodland, and then the subcompartments are the red blocks in the middle. And compartments are usually entire woodlands, or it's something that is not likely to change over time, so defined by a river or a road or something like that. And then the subcompartments are divisions within that woodland that allows you to put on a management prescription and do some actions over time. So I've obviously drawn these already. I will show you how to draw something on myForest and from a feature point of view, but I'm not going to draw any subcompartments here tonight. What I do want to show you though is that something that my colleague Andrew went through in the last webinar that we did, which was where the inventory information sits. So within each subcompartment, as I said, there is a database that sits behind this. So a normal digital mapping or geographical information system, you will a generic one, you would have to set up your own what we call attribute data in the background to store information. What we've done in myForest is that we've laid all that out for you in a very, hopefully, as clear a way as possible, so that you can follow a process of mapping your woodland and then adding information. And we give you the nudge to let you know what you could be adding to your woodland information. So if I click on the management data, it brings up a tab, a bar across the side here. And then within that bar, it has lots of different tabs. And you can follow a process of moving through those tabs and adding information. I always say to people, don't get overwhelmed when they see this. There's quite a lot going on. You don't have to add everything at the same time. Even if you just add some species early on, that's a good thing to know and understand. But if you're going to be selling your timber, it's often useful. It's particularly useful to understand what's in your woodland. So we added this functionality last summer for you to be able to add plot data from where the volumes of trees in your woodlands can then be calculated. I've added 2 plots here already, and I'll just show you some of the information that's held in the plots. I'm not going to show you exactly how to add all the information, but the information that you would collect when you're going out and measuring plots in your woodland would be the species. So we support, we have a full list of species that you would find in Britain. This thing called DBH, which is diameter at breast height, so the diameter of a tree. I did that because you measure it by using a girth tape, which then gives you the diameter of the tree. That is vital, probably more than height of timber height of the tree. The diameter is really, really key information to provide to potential buyers. It really helps them understand what they could do with that tree from a utility point of view. We have something here that is called tree forms. So that again, this just really helps a buyer understand what kind of thing they might be looking at. So before they get to site. So if you said all the trees were form 4 or 5, maybe the timber buyer might not be interested. And if you said they were all form 1, then they're going to be really interested. So that's the kind of information that you can start to gather using myForest to inform the timber buyer and contractor what they might be looking at when they get out onto site. And there should, if you want to know more about the inventory, Northwoods will be releasing a video based on the last webinar that my colleague Andrew did in the next month or so. So assuming that you'd done an inventory and that you'd or at least part of an inventory and that you've done your woodland mapping, you then might want to consider other things that you might want to add to the site that would be of interest to a buyer. So here's some stuff that I've added earlier. I've added an extraction route, so where I'd want to see the timber being extracted. I've added the stacking area, so if the buyer's coming on site without you, then it would be good to tell them where they can stack the timber. And then anything around hazards. So up here in the northwest, we've got a badger set, we've got a raptor nest, and then maybe we can add something else like if I added just show you can see how I draw something on myForest. So I added a pond. And that would be a polygon feature. So you can either draw a line, which would be like a track, or a nest, which would be a point, and this is going to be a polygon. I've added the pond. It's popped up on the control panel on the left-hand side. All of the options in myForest, once you've created that part on the pond on the control panel, all the options beyond that are found in these 3 dots. So you just need to add mapping. And I'm just going to do a very, very boring square pond. Or not even square. Okay, so that's just how to add a feature into myForest. What I want to do now is take you to a new part of the system that we have developed to allow you to pull together all the information together, as I explained earlier. So if you went onto myForest now, you would not see this part of the control panel called Timber Markets. This will be released in the next few months. If you open that up, we have 2 bits in here. We have something called Cloud Forest Marketplace, which I'll try and explain at the end. It's not really the purpose of this evening, but I will touch on it. And then we've got this snappily titled Timber Harvesting Sales Information. So this is where you create the document that will pull together all your information that you could send to a potential seller, a buyer. So I've created one already, but if you wanted to create a new one, you would click the plus sign, you would click New Sales Information, and then click Create. And you can see here that I've got a new document. I close that one, open that one. I've got a new document here, and you can fill in the information down here. I'm going to delete this because I've got a nice one above that I've mainly pre-filled. So the way that these documents work on myForest is that we're trying to create a place that helps you store as much of the information and documents for your woodland as possible in one site, so that you can do some work to fill out documents at the same time as doing the mapping, and you're not jumping between too many different places. So you can move down the structure from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I click on 1, then you can see what we've developed is what's called a web form. So in this web form, you fill in information. So you'll see, if anyone's a fan of 80s pop music, that I am an agent for Kim Wilde, and she's got a woodland called Wild Copse. You can change the information here, so it could also be Kim's Copse. And then the process is going through this this document and adding information into each of the different sections. And what I'm going to do is just highlight some of the things that I think are really of interest to you when you're pulling together something, pulling together a document. So your main access, really a bit of description underneath about the access. So I'm based in Oxfordshire. I'm saying that this woodlands near Charlbury in Oxfordshire. It's just off this road B447, but it's on a tarmac side track, and it's got good access for articulated lorries, and lorries can reverse into the woodland, and the potential buyer can use what 3 words to find the exact location I'm talking about here. And if I just take a step back, and if you think about what you would see at an estate agent, if you were going to buy a house, if you were looking to buying a house, you would have a set of, you would something in the estate agent window or online or on Rightmove, and that would be quite sort of informative, and it would give you that initial decision about whether you want to invest the time to go and see that house and perhaps make an offer. And this is what this is doing. It's not absolutely every single bit of information that you will ever require to get this sale over the line. It's giving enough information that will make a buyer interested enough to drive to your woodland and have a look at your trees. Because if they don't have this information, then they'll go and look at someone else's trees who has provided the information and de-risk that sale for them. So as I say, description of access, hazards and constraints. So of particular interest to buyers and contractors about what they might have to work around when they get onto site. So in this situation, we've got an overhead power line on the other side of the road. That's good to know because you might have crane lorries and all sorts of stuff going around. We know that there's a raptor nest in the northeast of the compartment, and I can add as many of these constraints or hazards as I want. So I can add, we saw on the map, there was a badger set, and I can say badger set in, it was at northwest of compartment. And you can just add as many of these things as you need, but we give you sort of hints and tips about what you should be considering adding in here. And the more information you can add here, the better, the less surprises that will come down the line. You'll notice, because I made a change there, that it's popped up, say that I've got some unsaved information. If I click save, that's all saved. The information's saved to the cloud. You can walk away from this, you can shut it down, you can come back and start it another time. Important references. Again, your buyer will want to know that you have the necessary licenses in place to do this work. So a phone license number, for example, is appropriate. You might want to tell them that you've got a full, even though you're doing harvesting in one site, part of the woodland, that you've got a full woodland management plan. And if you're, for example, grown in Britain certified, or perhaps Forest Stewardship Council certified, you can add your grown in Britain license number. And it may be that the buyer is particularly interested in stuff that at that point that has some certification to it. Moving down the document, maps. So you know, it's hard to explain how important that is to someone to really get to understand what's going on. This detailed information is key, but if you don't have maps, it's really hard to interpret against something else. So I'll be showing you how we add maps, but it's also important to say what maps you've added, so, and why you've added them. Location map, harvesting map, and I'll do a hazards and constraints map. Terrible speller and typer. And then finally, harvesting operations. So here, this gets you into the sort of more of the nitty gritty about what you want to happen on your woodland. So which subcompartment it is that you're going to be doing work on, what the volume might be, and then a description which then allows you to tell the buyer what the volume of each species it is, why you're doing the operation. So in this particular operation, it's a thinning operation. We're not clear felling the whole part of the woodland, but we want to retain the oak with the best form possible, and tell them that all the trees will be marked with an orange dot or whatever you'd want to do. So it's providing as much information here as you can about the harvesting schedule. You can provide any information about extraction, so avoid the weak bridge, or don't go over smash the culvert up, or particularly in conifer sites that you would expect the contractor to put out what's called a brash mat. So take all the size of the trees and lay it out as to stop some compaction. Information about timing, really important. All sorts of restrictions on potentially when timber can be harvested from, if you're working on a area with pheasant shooting, the gamekeeper might not want you in after November. Some sites won't let you in the bird nesting season. That's not a complete restriction. You're still able to do work in the bird nesting season, but of course you have to be more careful. It might be that the trees in particular that you're felling need to be harvested in the winter. For example, sycamore, if you fell it in the summer, it stains, so the timber becomes less valuable. So that's the kind of thing that you're interested in. What the reinstatement's going to be, so who's in charge of any damage that's done to the site, and how you're going to pick up on that, and then any other information. So I've written, this is the area that I've highlighted is where I live, so I've said that the locals are lovely people. Okay, so that's a way to get through that document. And as I said, I worked in forestry for a long time. I've pulled together this information in many different formats, and I know that both woodland owners who might not have done this before, but also professional foresters might do this in a continually different way. So we just try and provide some consistency in the way that we've pulled together this information. So I mentioned maps earlier. I just wanted to highlight that myForest allows you to generate maps. I don't really have time to show you exactly how myForest does that. I'll go in and quickly show you what the map editing function looks like in myForest, and then we'll show some example maps. But on our guidance pages on myForest, there are step-by-step guides and a video guidance of how to create output maps from the stuff that you've added to the screen. So, for example, this is a location map. Because I want to provide big context, I've done the scale at 1 to 50,000. I've added in the woodland, the whole woodland, not just the harvesting area. I've added a label that provides access. And then I've added some extra information in here with the what 3 words information, so that allow people to get directly to site. And in a second, I'll show you how that looks as an output. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the way to get that map out is to click on the 3 dots, and then you can download that as a printable map, or as I mentioned previously, where you can also download your maps as geospatial maps as well. The other example here I have is a harvesting map. So the thing to take note of here is that it's a much smaller scale, or more zoomed in scale. I always get the smaller and bigger mixed up in my head with this, but it's a more zoomed in scale. We want to provide more detail. I've used a different mapping background. So the previous one was using OpenStreetMap. Here I've used OS Maps. I've added in information about where the harvesting site is, the extraction route, the timber stack, and also this more extra content as well. And then finally on here, I just wanted to highlight where you extract the inventory information. So if you want to download the inventory information that you've from all the data that you've added in, then you click on this download here and it creates an Excel output. Again, that just provides more information to the buyer that you have done some work in the background and that they've got some more reassurance about what they're going to see when they come to your woodland. So I just want to highlight now what some of those outputs look like. So you'll remember that I highlighted it's our location map. This is the output of location map. It provides you with it gives you all the things automatically generated with the name, the scale, the north point, anything that you've added on the map provides an automatic key, the labels, the extra information generated automatically in a map. I'm going to go to the harvesting information one that I showed you. So again, that slightly different background, the OS background, but now we've got the timber stacking area, the extraction route, the harvesting site. So just getting into a bit more detail in here. And then one which I also did just to provide, show you with how another type of background would look, which again is, it's useful because you can pick up on different things and you see different types of backgrounds. So this is flagging where the badger set is, and also flagging where the raptor nest is. The document is downloadable, and when I go back onto myForest, I'll show you where that download. It's within those 3 dots again, but this is what when you put your information in, as I said before, you can come back to any point and add in more information or edit it, but it generates a document, a PDF, which you can then email or print, send to the potential buyer. So we can see here that Kim Wild owns Wild Copse. I'm the agent, the main access point that we talked about. We'll go through the sections. We've got the hazards, the constraints, the power line, the raptor nest, the badger set, the felon license information, the grown and printing certification number, what maps you're associating with the document, and all those harvesting information sections that I mentioned. So what the schedule is. If you were doing multiple subcompartments, obviously you can add in more into that table. Anything about extraction, the felling windows reinstatement, and the other information. So you've now got a document, and you've got maps. This is what the inventory information looks like if you're generating it from myForest. So it shows you the subcompartment and the species and the year planted and this key bit of information that I mentioned earlier, which was the diameter and the height range and things that would be useful for a buyer to see. And then I've pulled all that information together. These could be sent as separate documents. I've pulled all that into one document. So taking me through all the hazards and constraints and the maps and the harvesting operations, then into the maps and the inventory. So you can imagine I can send this directly to a timber buyer. I can send it directly to Ollie at Timber Auctions. He can then use that to populate his timber auction site and add it. And again, it's just about this confidence piece that we talked about earlier. I'm running over. It's terrible. I don't like doing that, but I just wanted to show you one quick thing before we finished. So as part of our other work through the Forest Innovation Funds, we've been also working with Hester from Cloud Forest, who's developing a marketplace for timber. So something slightly different to what Ollie's got on Timber Auctions. This provides a more listing of timber for sale, and sawmillers and buyers can also go on and say things that they would like to have. And what we wanted to do was create a link directly from myForest to Cloud Forest Marketplace. So again, this is not live at the moment. The Cloud Forest Marketplace is live. You can go and have a look now, see what timber is there, and post information on there. And but we've created a way of linking directly your any of the subcompartments that you have inventory information. You can click on here and you can add a listing title. So new woodland sale, new wood sale, and you can create a listing, and that creates that's created a draft listing on Cloud Forest Marketplace. If I very quickly flick on to Cloud Forest Marketplace, I can see that that this is my listing that I created yesterday through that link. So Wild Copse is now listed on Cloud Forest. So it's providing a nice sort of way, direct way for people that are using myForest to manage their woodlands to link to a new type of marketplace on Cloud Forest. Right, I have spoken for far too long, so I've got 15 minutes for questions, and I'm going to ask Gabriel if he can come forward and see if there's any questions that have been coming up in the chat, or if anyone wants to bring anything forward.
Thank you, Paul. You probably want to rest your voice as well. Well done, that's great. I'm sure there may be some more questions, but we've only had one in the chat so far from Justin, who is just asking about what the best options might be for accurate locating, point features and things like that, using either a phone app or potentially GPS. What would we recommend for that?
I've used in the past an app called Avenza, which you can you can get a paid for version, but you can also get a free version that's pretty good, and you can add points on that, and you can extract those from the GPS location on your phone, and then you can extract those points and import them into myForest. Now, the methodology is not as slick as it could be, but I've done that and it definitely works. So that's one way of doing it. So you can use this feature called import mapping. Another way of doing it is there is an app that OS have created called, I think it's called OS Locate. Gabriel, you may have used it. It's not the main Ordnance Survey OS mapping app that provides you with all the OS backgrounds. It's just a simple location app that provides you with your grid reference. And the way that you could use that in myForest is you can add a point feature. So if you have got that grid reference, and you can add a new feature and then click point. When you create that new feature, when you go to add mapping to the feature, you get the opportunity to add a grid reference. So if you had got that grid reference from OS Locate, then you can add that directly in, and it would bang it straight on the map in the right place. Sorry, Gabriel, I cut you off.
No, I talked over you. Yeah, OS Locate's really neat, and it's free, and it gives you a really accurate grid references, providing obviously you've got a good signal. So that's, you can bring that, as Paul says, straight in. It's really good for mapping changes in direction. If you're doing a long linear feature like a track, you can mark all the sort of corners and things like that, and then draw a line between them. Or you can use it for for the outline of a pond, or key features like a central point in a hut circle or something that might be important to preserve in your site. So yeah, it works really well actually, as Paul just showed in that little demonstration there. Paul, John Pitcairn's asked about some of these options being only available in paid myForest accounts. So I think it might be just nice to explain what was a feature yet to come
Yes.
as
Okay.
opposed to what's already available, because actually most of what you've demonstrated today is available, but not the timber market part. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. So yes, he's sorry, that John. I should have explained the way that limited time, so I'm trying to narrow it down. The way that myForest works is that we work on a it's called a freemium methodology. Sylva's a charity, provide this a lot of the functionality for free. We want to support woodland owners, but we're trying to also create a sustainable income in the background to support the use of this product. So I think the bulk of the things I've shown you today are in the free version. The things that are in the paid version are access to OS mapping. That's in the paid version. I highlighted data layers. I've got access here to lots of data layers. You will be restricted in the data layers you can access in the free version. The adding in of all the plot data is part of the free version, but extraction of it is in that Excel spreadsheet is in the paid for version. And then the timber market part here is just not on the site yet, so it's just not there because we've not fully tested everything out yet. So it's likely that this yet to be decided, but it's likely that this timber harvesting sales information will be in our free version. So and that will confirm that over the next few next 4 months. But we worked with the Northwoods team to develop this. So this is a sort of collaborative bit of work, and we would want to put this out for free if we can. Hopefully that helps.
Well, I've just learned something, Paul, that OS Locate's been discontinued, and it's
Is
now
it?
a new tool called Locate Me.
Okay.
So I'll just put a link in the chat.
Right,
It's the same idea though. It's free and it gives you an accurate location. It's pretty cool actually. Paul, that's it for questions in the chat. Does anyone else want to raise a hand or ask anything at this point? Please go ahead. I think no one's coming forward.
It's because it's a sunny evening. Everyone wants to go outside in the sunshine, isn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, then I know these things are often rush throughs to a certain extent. We have it's quite a lot going on in myForest, and we provide quite a lot of functionality, and it's hopefully it's hard to focus on the bit that you're just wanting to show without seeing the complete overview. But essentially, the thing I wanted to get across tonight was that to market your timber, you need to be pulling together some information that will give those buyers confidence to come and see your site. They might have to drive a couple of hours. They might have to drive an hour, but it could be half a day out of their time. That's quite an expensive thing. If it is half a day out of their time and they get to you and it's not what they were expecting because it's been explained the wrong way, or you've not highlighted all the constraints to the work that they'd have to do, or they don't understand what the access is, that's frustrating. And so giving them that confidence by going through this document will pull together most of the information that they will need. As I said, it's very much like a sales brochure from a house. You will need to exchange more information with them over time. But this is going to provide, if you follow that template, you'll provide good base information to give them some confidence. So the template and the maps together are something that you could really support the getting your woodlands for sale out to the marketplace.
Paul, Simon's just asked, I know you're just wrapping up, sorry. Simon's just asked about access to the previous webinar. Have we got a recording somewhere? Is that on our site? Or?
Yes, okay. So the reason I was slightly hesitant about that was because the previous webinar that my colleague Andrew did was not recorded. So Andrew is going to re-record it again in the next few weeks, re-record what he did, and then we'll provide that to Martha at Northwoods, and she will send it out to the mailing list, and we'll also add it on to our myForest newsletter as well. So yeah, it's not quite available at the moment, but I would hope within the next few weeks that would be available again, because it was the inventory is complicated, and there's no getting away from it. But what we've done in myForest is try to remove some of the complication of the post data collection calculation. So we've digitized a lot of the calculations so that you can collect diameter information and height information, and myForest does the hard work for doing the calculation for you. Right. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully that was useful. I will let you go out in the sunshine and get the last bit of the evening.
And Martha, did you want to say any concluding remarks?
No, just thank you very much for coming, and Paul, that was really clear. Even to me, as someone with very limited forestry knowledge, I thought it was really clearly explained. So thank you very much from us.
Okay, you're welcome. No problem. Right, bye everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.